Welcome, star shines, star children, star babies, everyone under the sun, which is a beautiful little star of ours. I am here today to talk about the concept of evil and why it seems to take such a firm hold in our minds, especially when we talk about things that can be kind of divisive, like war and religion, and of course, philosophy and lifestyle practices such as witchcraft and the extent to which people think things are evil has no end in sight. It really just depends on where you're coming from and who's talking about it. So I think the biggest thing that I want to relay in this video is that evil is kind of a gray area for me, especially when it comes to how we think of other people and how we think of their practices and other things. There is a lot of flexibility in humanity's moral compass. And when you see how people shift and change when it comes to, certain things like survival and religious practices, certain ideas that people have about why the world is the way it is. And it just kind of goes to a dark place really quick. And I don't necessarily think that evil is black and white. I know when it comes to like tarot concepts, archetypal concepts are really helpful for this kind of stuff, because you think of things like justice, what's right and what's wrong, what's fair and what's not fair, what's okay and what's not okay. That's a really easy way to get a grasp of like, okay, right versus wrong, good versus evil. Evil becomes things like backstabbing, lying, cheating, cold-blooded murder, things that there's really no argument about. But then, you look at certain cultures and their practices with sacrifices or with how they treat their elders or children that they can't support or can't feed, and things like concepts like abortion. And all of a sudden it becomes not so black and white. It's not such a clear-cut defined line anymore. You've got concepts of things like the death penalty and the electric chair and torture and things that have been around for millennia at least. And it becomes a gray area really quick. And that's kind of what I mean when I say that I think it's a very gray area. I think what's more important is to define for yourself on your own time, with your own energy, define what it is that you think is evil. So like for me, I would go down and I would list like, torture, hate crimes, lynchings, circumcision, male and female, stuff like that. And then under the good or the non-evil category, you would go through and you would list, what gets a pass. And then on a separate sheet of paper, I would write why. And that's really where you start to uncover your shadow, and you start to uncover your motivations and your intentions behind things. It's perfectly fine and acceptable to have strong beliefs about things, but I feel like it's also very helpful to define for yourself why you hold the beliefs that you hold, what it is that motivates you to say this is evil and why. There are people that do not have enough food to eat, and that do not have enough resources to buy clothes or protect their family or, pay for basic costs of living. And yet, people want to say that it is evil or condemnable, a jailable offense, or worse, to kill an unborn child, to have an abortion. And to me, I think that's a little short-sighted. I would put that would be switched for me. I would say it's okay, it's not evil to have an abortion, but it is evil to force someone to have a child if you're not willing to support them and help them support themselves. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should go out and have abortions 24/7. Like, it's some great, wonderful experience, and everybody should do it. I wish that we had enough education about sex and birth control that those sorts of things didn't have to happen. Of course, that's the ideal that everybody wants. Everybody's going for education and, autonomy when it comes to your body. You don't want to have a kid. You don't have to be put in a position where that becomes an option. That should be ideally the circumstance that we're all shooting for. But once that line is crossed, I think it should be in the woman's power to say, am I ready to take on this responsibility or not? And that seems pretty clear-cut to me. To somebody else, it might be reversed. It might feel different. Now, does that mean that I think the person who thinks reverse is evil, or that they probably think that I'm evil? I hope not. My message that I'm going for in this video is that we all have different reasoning and ideals behind why we think what we think. And that our intentions and our motivations behind classifying something as evil or not evil should be, have a greater, vaster, more far-reaching motivation behind it than just to judge and condemn someone. The idea behind judgment and condemnation and declaration of the way things are, to me, is that people are educated, that they feel confident about why they're doing what they're doing, that they feel like they belong and they understand their role in life, and they have a clear grasp of what's okay and what's not okay as far as their life is concerned and the way that they want to live and go about their business, and also why everybody else is going about their life the way they're going about it and how we respond to that. What's our response to that? I think of the verse in the Bible when Jesus says, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." That to me perfectly represents judgment and what it should be for us. It should be a very personal journey. It should be something that is very individual, that is very unique. It's not something that's meant to give us the pass to go around throwing stones at other people. And that's just how I feel about it. Is witchcraft inherently evil? To me, no. If you were raised that way and you believe that to your core, or you've had some discovery or some experience in your life that's led you to believe that witchcraft or magic is inherently evil, that's your personal choice. I can't dissuade you from thinking whatever you want to think. But just like me thinking it's evil to circumcise a child, does that mean that I have the right to launch a crusade against everyone who does that? I mean, I personally think it's pretty terrible, and I'm always going to speak up for the children because I feel like they don't have a voice, and we have to protect them and speak up for them. So it's tough, but let's pick something that's not so much interfering with somebody's free will. That's why I can't really compare witchcraft to circumcision, because witchcraft, I'm not going around taking people's children and sacrificing them for rituals. Like, that's never something that would happen. I'm not hurting anybody. Nobody is involuntarily subjected to my practices as a witch. So it's not really a fair comparison. It would be like thinking that it's evil to watch Fox News. That's hard too, because the people are actually getting hurt with stuff that's going on. So I don't really have a good a good example for this. Something that is as blameless as witchcraft, that you could consider evil based on your conditioning. How about electricity? There are some people that really believe that electricity is evil, like straight up. Or skirts, or pants, or things like that. You're allowed to think whatever you want to think, but if it's not impacting you and it's not impacting anybody else, like that we can verify with a scientific discovery, then it's not really fair to launch a whole crusade against someone for their personal practices and beliefs. And I think that is pretty standard across the board. I know that there are a lot of religious reasons that people feel compelled to stay away from things like witchcraft and tarot and practicing magic and rituals. And all I can say to that is that religion is a strange horse, and it has evolved in many strange ways over the years. And the root of the word religion is to consider deeply. Religion actually means to consider every aspect of your life very deeply. So when you think of that, religion is about the witchiest, most magical practice that there is, at least in my worldview, in my perspective. To consider everything you do very deeply is kind of what my modus operandi is as a witch. And religion, to consider everything very deeply, I mean, religion just does that. It's just carrying on traditions on a very deep level, passed down from generation to generation. One practice is passed down at a time. And I think that that's beautiful, and I love it. Now, when the practice is cutting the skin off of a newborn child for an aesthetic reason, that is, I think, disgusting and awful and terrible. Or when it is beheading somebody who thinks differently from you, or took something without asking, or stepped on the wrong foot in the wrong day on the wrong property, I think that's going a little too far, way too far. But it's easy to see how, if you consider everything you do very deeply, you can go off the deep end if you're not careful about managing your ethics and your moral scope, your moral compass. So that's kind of all I wanted to throw out there. That's pretty much everything I wanted to cover, I think, about religion and about the topic of evil and not evil. I think that witchcraft is pretty wholesome. It's been life-saving for me. It's had a wonderful effect on my life. So with that, I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.